Hello everyone and welcome to LHoFT TV. We're really excited to bring you this new show, which we hope will showcase the fintech industry and the finance industry in an exciting and engaging way every 6 weeks. We aim to give you some key insights into the trends shaping the future of finance and technology, as well as news and perspectives from the Luxembourg ecosystem and that of our partners internationally. Critically, we'll be focusing on the people that are really shaping innovation within the industry and driving real change. As I said, this is the pilot episode, so we need to hear from you to tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, to make this show more entertaining and engaging for you. Now, let the show begin.
Thank you, Nasir, and welcome everybody to the first LHoFT TV show. We are really happy with the LHoFT team to have put up this show. We hope we'll bring you great insight, food for thoughts, but also fun and smile. We thank all our amazing partners and the fintech community for their continuous support. With no further ado, let's dive in. He is the father of the European Investment Fund. He is the godfather of venture capital in Europe. Yes, that's right, you recognize him. This is Mr. John Holloway. Our CEO Nasir took a walk with him in a beautiful and sunny Luxembourg city center. The conversation was fascinating. Did you know that when Mr. John Holloway started the EIF, there were only 4 people?
You worked at the European Investment Bank for over 20 years and then moved over to the European Investment Fund for about 18.
That's right.
Retired now, though still very active. You've been in Luxembourg for quite some time. How many years?
Well, it's exactly 41 years
41
this week
years.
Since my wife and I arrived here.
And you've chosen to retire here as well.
Absolutely right. Yeah. The infrastructure is here. It's a place we love.
41 years in Luxembourg.
Yep.
I mean, you've seen this place evolve tremendously over that time.
Incredible.
This is now the biggest investment fund centre in Europe.
Yeah, over 4 trillion,
Yeah, exactly. And the whole sector has evolved incredibly. The fields where the EIB and the EIF reside were fields, I think, when
they were full of cows when I got here. Over the years, the place has transformed itself. So the best thing to do is to have finance. And that's what they started to do, combined with having quite a few European Union institutions here. I think what Luxembourg has managed to do in the meantime brilliantly well is to become a fund management specialist. And there, as you said, now the assets under management now are 4.5 trillion, makes it second or third biggest place in the world looking after funds. Luxembourg, I think, has become an excellent place to set up your fund, if that's what you want to do. Everyone speaks several languages. It's a small place, but it's utterly cosmopolitan. But the fact is, there's an openness in this country which you don't find in every other European Union country at all. And I find that a real pleasure. Fantastic place to be.
So, I think it was 1994, right? That the EIB set up the EIF under the dictate of the European Commission.
Correct.
And then I think in 1997 you expanded the remit from just pure private equity fund of funds into venture capital as well, right?
That's true.
And you were there right at the beginning. You became the director of private equity investments at the EIF. I think it was managing around 16 billion in funds, or approximately.
Towards the end, not at the beginning. Invested
in around, I think, 500 different investment managers. Why did you choose to make that switch from the EIB into this?
The European Investment Fund was an idea that came out of the December 1992 Edinburgh Summit, hosted by John Major. At the time, Europe had just come through a fairly torrid economic downturn, and the idea came out in Edinburgh, December 92, to create a European investment fund. President Maestad asked me to go and see him, and he said, would I like to run the equity business? Would I like to run the equity business? Yes, absolutely. We moved in, four of us, moved in to do something with the equity business of EIF in September 2000. Over the following 18 years, with a super team of people, we took it from 4 people to 85, and from £500 million under management to 16 billion under management. 500 fund managers. I'm personally immensely proud of what EIF managed to achieve and continues to achieve now. And its development over those 20 years tracks the development of European venture capital at the same time, because EIF has contributed such a huge amount towards it. I don't think that the equity activity, venture capital tech activity in Europe today will be anything like as well founded as it is if EIF hadn't been there to give it a push, pull it along. And the portfolio of EIF today, I think, is doing extremely well. It was a tremendous, tremendous ride. I said to Philip Maistat, well, President, do you have a plan for EIF in September 2000? What would you like me to do? He just said to me, faites quelque chose, do something. Blank sheet of paper, go away and do it, do something. So I left his office and did something.
I mean, there's still this big question that arises in European venture capital and I guess its impact on European startups. And that is, why doesn't Europe have a star of the scale of, say, the Googles, the Amazons, Facebooks? When they start getting to later stage of funding, they typically go over to the US.
Yep, that's true.
And they leave their home of Europe. Why is it that we don't have these unicorns?
I think it's also a question of scale. If I think back to, 2015 was the date you mentioned. I think in Europe in 2015 there might have been a dozen unicorns. Last year I think the number was 60, so say 5 times more. And in the intervening period some unicorns have been sold off, so they're no longer doing a valuation, which we all love, but we know it's a bit subjective, and it's actually objective because there's been some real cash achieved. So I don't think it's quite as bad now as it was 5 years ago. Your fundamental point that Europe has not been able to create anything like a Google or an Apple is absolutely, you can't argue about it, it's true. The reasons why, I honestly don't have an answer for you. All I can say is that the atmosphere, the infrastructure today that might lead to an Apple or a Google being founded in Europe is there.
So, John, you have mentioned the B word a few times, Brexit.
Unavoidable, isn't it?
Unavoidable now it's all happened.
Yeah.
How has that, in your opinion, impacted the finance industry and I guess specifically then the venture industry? What do you think the ramifications will be of Brexit?
Since June 2016, let's face it, we're coming up now to nearly 5 years.
After this brilliant conversation, let's move to our FinTech forecast. We never dreamed to do the weather forecast. Pretty exciting, no? Fred, our FinTech manager, will present you our FinTech forecast with the best news of our FinTech ecosystem.
Moyen, goedemiddag and welcome to the very first edition of the FinTech Forecast 2021. Today we will give you insights of what is going on in the FinTech community here in Luxembourg, what is happening in the community at the LHoFT. Did you know that we currently have over 200 FinTechs in Luxembourg, with the top 4 being Fintech, Payments, Blockchain and RegTech. Now, what is going on at the LHoFT? We currently have 164 members, 78 of them, FinTechs, are hosted within the LHoFT premises. So let's start the FinTech forecast with one of our new members at the LHoFT. Their team is young and talented. Their mantra is shaping the future of asset management. Yes, you are right, we are talking about Nextgate Tech. They just moved into our facility, and if you want to know more about what they are doing at the moment, what their plans are in the future, check out one of those boxes. Number 2 of our FinTech forecast. Staying in data management, we will now jump to the new product launch of Sequoia. They recently launched their flagship solution, Summit, a data management platform that will enable your team to jumpstart their path on digitization. If you want to know more what their CEO Nicolas Buc has to say about data management, check out this. Number 3 of the FinTech forecast. Fundraising news. The Luxembourg-based AI startup Emailtree just currently raised 1.4 million euros in additional funding and is continuing its development. If you want to stay updated and have the latest news on what is going on in the fintech community in Luxembourg and abroad, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter. Number 4 of our fintech forecast. Did you know that among all the great things that our fintechs are doing, they also write books? If you're interested, check out the latest publication of our fintech Tokeny on their website, The Era of Digital Asset Marketplaces. Number 5 of our fintech forecast, the team of the month. Artificial intelligence applied to financial translation. Yes, you are right, we are talking about lingua custodia. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for the energy, the great work. It is a great pleasure to have you on board. So that was it for our very first edition of the Fintech Forecast 2021. I hope you got some great insights. Give us your feedback in the comment section below, click on the like button and see you next month.
And now it's time for an already famous video series at the Loft, the Office Hours, by Pascal Bouvier, the Managing Director of Middle Game Ventures, a VC hosted at the Loft. In one of his episodes, he answers some of the public questions. Are you more zebra or unicorns? Let's find out.
Hello everyone and welcome. Has the pandemic changed your business? Yes, it has, right? One of the cardinal rules of VC investing is to meet the founding team, the CEO in person, more than once. That's extremely important for us. So if we're not able to travel, if we're not able to meet someone, we have to revert to video conferences, we have to revert to different ways of figuring out from a due diligence point of view if we want to invest in that business, in these persons that have created and founded that business. And that means that the entire process, from the very beginning that we have a first call and a first video conference call to the end where we invest, has to be rethought. So it means that sometimes we go deeper in certain aspects, other times we go faster on the other aspects. And as a result, at the margin, our business of investing has changed. Second question, what about Klarna? Klarna raised 1 billion at 31 billion valuation. That makes it a very hefty and a very big company. Is that something that is reasonable? The answer is yes. Klarna is a fantastic startup. Well, it's not a startup anymore. It's not a scale-up. It's like a humongous business. These types of humongous businesses in financial technology in Europe are needed. There's going to be soon an IPO, I think. They have great UX, they have great execution with partners, they have great customer centricity, and they were able from the very beginning to monetize their financial service business, which is very different than neobanks, which is very different than banks or payments businesses. So the answer here is a resounding yes, it makes sense, and they're going to grow even more from here. Third question. Someone is asking that VC firms and VC investors are adding expertise like product and marketing and operational expertise over and above their investing expertise. Does that make sense? Well, yes, it does. And actually, I'm surprised that people are finding out that some VC firms are adding these types of expertise to their resume, because that should be table stakes. A VC investor brings capital, and then they advise a startup on how the startup should grow, the pitfalls to avoid, and so on and so forth. And from that perspective, they have to know about sales, they have to know about product, they have to know about engineering. Obviously, not one VC investor is a jack of all trades, but they have to have specific operational expertise to be an even better investor. So yes, it makes sense. And fourth question, that one is a tricky one. Why doesn't Europe have a big tech business or several big tech businesses to rival those in the US and China? Gosh, that many different reasons, right? Capital markets in Europe and the European Union are not as homogenized and as big as, for example, in the US. That's one reason. Second reason, for a startup to be a national champion, let's say in Germany or in Poland or in France or in Italy, that's fairly easy. To become a national champion, to become more than a national champion all over Europe, that's way more difficult. You need a lot of capital, you need a lot of expertise, and so far you haven't had that many startups doing so because VC investing is tough. And I get back to the first reason, the capital markets aspect, is much more constrained than in the US, for example. So I think for these reasons, we haven't seen big tech businesses yet in Europe. Fifth question, the last one I think, and that is a zoological question. Someone is asking if zebras will overcome unicorns. So unicorns, we know them, businesses that reach an incredible valuation in a short period of time with a lot of capital being raised. And sadly, a unicorn sometimes dies and goes to the graveyard of unicorns, as we've seen. And the issue there is, are startups growing too fast sometimes and raising too much capital, and the expectations are so much that there's such a risk. And now comes another classification, that of zebras. And zebra startups are the ones that are more fundamentally sound, growing probably not as fast as a unicorn, but growing in a sounder way with like less operational risk. So from that perspective, I say yes, of course. Zebras should always have been the norm, and unicorns, not necessarily. So a thumbs up for zebra.
You know his face, you know his voice, you know his energy. Yes, that's right. Our very own Anthony is back, presenting you the best insight of digital events. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, happy to welcome you back on board. I know that's how we start our webinars, right? Happy to welcome you back on board to our new Insiders Insight on the LHoFT TV show. Today we want to share with you what is happening at the LHoFT Digital Valley. We want to highlight a few events that stole the show in 2020 and want to share with you what you can expect from us in 2021. Last year in 2020, we created over 70 virtual sessions and hosted over 7,000 participants that joined us from all over the world. With our masterclasses, we brought you field practitioners and thought leaders to teach you and bring you the latest applicable hands-on strategies to your business today. With our industry and international showcases, we explored global fintech ecosystems such as the one in Dubai and Israel, and had a closer look to what is happening in the space of innovation and disruption in financial services today. Our Global Leader Series, hosted by none other than our CEO Nasir Subari, brought leading figures on the podcast to discuss what's new, what's old, and what's coming at us today. This year we started our series with a 360-degree on fundraising, covering the full value chain of capital raising in Luxembourg and beyond. This month we launched a brand new masterclass series on product design and UX, bringing you top-notch brands such as N26 and others. Our industry showcase is focusing on AI in banking, AI in asset management, and AI in insurance. And now let's have a look at some of the best highlights of our LHoFT Digital Valley.
In Europe, Luxembourg is the absolute leader in terms of assets and administration.
A really big part of what we actually do at the Blockchain Policy Center is capacity building, so education about, at sometimes a very basic level, which is where we really started out 2 years ago, is sort of what is blockchain, and why is it different, and why do I, as a policymaker, need to be paying attention? What we're really clear about doing, though, is it's not about promoting the technology per se. It's not about saying, you should definitely be using this technology. You should be definitely be. But it's about saying, look, this is something which is, it's actually happening, first of all. So getting people to understand that this is not something that we're talking about in the future. This is something which is really happening right now, and they need to be paying attention to it.
And then from a product point of view, there are two things. One is ESG and sustainability and all these things. So among the next generations, you get a huge demand for these kind of products, and it's something you can put more emphasis or less emphasis, but you have to have that flavor among your ice cream. That's clearly the case. No? So that's one.
When we say innovation, we talk about all the sort of innovations. It's easy to think about technology, but not only can be innovations on the process, the way you do things, your business models. So it's really about every aspect of innovation. So to keep this in mind as well.
In less than 2 weeks post the decision by the Luxembourg to confine, we were able to have virtually 100% of the staff working from home.
Depending on what sort of machine learning you do, you could do a few different things. One is that there are techniques that can give you an extent of uncertainty. And if they're trained appropriately, then times like now, if you were to predict, for example, set an outcome in future, you would have been given a narrow range. Now you're supposed to get a bigger range. And usually a bigger range of uncertainty could mean, let's bring some experts to look into this.
A general one would be try to install trust.
So trust, yes.
Trust is basic try to be clear on your technology, to explain your technology to a child or to a grandmother. I think it's a good point. Often they do it on a sentence, but you have to oblige them to do it on 10 sentences.
I mean, if I was to ask you, Nigel, what are the sort of three things, the three absolute essentials that you find when in your journey to success and building companies, what would those top three things be? What has been critical in making sure that the businesses go forward? Because your businesses have been a fantastic success.
Sure. First thing is people. People make everything happen.
I think the best way for a startup to get financing is going through a business angel and VC and investors.
After this intense zapping, it's time for a coffee break. And it's true, what a better time than a coffee to hear the best stories. Alex, our head of partnership and ecosystem, sat down with Frank, CEO of Greenwich Dealing and our Fintech veteran resident, talking about life and entrepreneurship.
Coffee. 1.4 billion cups are consumed each day. And there is no surprise. It's the perfect energizer in the morning. It's warm and comfy later in the day. But you see, coffee is more than just a drink. It's a social enabler. For the first edition of Coffee at the Loft, we have the pleasure to welcome Frank Chatillon, CEO and founder of Greenwich Dealing. Frank, thank you so much for being with us and sharing a coffee.
Thank you, Alex, to welcome me.
First question, Frank. What do you like to take as a coffee in the morning?
Coffee, I take Nespresso, and the one I like more is the Roma.
Roma?
The Roma, yeah.
Has more flavor or is stronger?
No, it's stronger. But I have to tell that I take more than 6 per day, so it's a bit tricky, but it's fine. I like coffee, yes.
You are still young. You can take as much as you want.
Yes, of course.
So let's talk about Frank. I mean, can you just give us a background about you? Where are you coming from?
Yes, I mean, I'm a bit more than 25 years old, and I've been working in a banking industry for almost 20 years. I started my career in JP Morgan, then BNP Paribas, and I was involved in many projects. Every time creating a new structure, new business, and I was supervising team, leading, and yes, I did a project in the banking industry for a few years, and I make a decision, and I made a decision. I think it was in 2012 to move ahead and to change and to go in my private structure, so to launch Greenwich.
So, what is Greenwich Dealings?
Greenwich Dealing is an outsourced firm. They provide we provide an outsourced dealing and trading solution for investment management firm, asset manager, and they are willing to let's say outsource their trade in order to save money and not to do them by themselves. So we perform the trading on their behalf, and we also perform the regulatory reporting on their behalf. So they delegate trading, they delegate regulatory reporting and middle office. So it's a way to save money and to give to Greenwich or to another provider let's say the willing to do things in a proper way.
That's interesting, but then what's your business model? Are you charging a fee, a commission base?
No fee, nothing. No, it's a joke. I mean, we charge a fee per trade.
Okay.
There is no onboarding setup fee. There's nothing like that.
No license?
No license. I mean the clients. We do the onboarding. So we open the broker network, the investment bank, in order the clients can connect themselves, and then we operate and we just charge a fee per trade, including trading and regulatory reporting linked to trade.
How many clients do you have today?
We have today, right now, 21 clients, and those clients are Luxembourgish clients, Swiss clients, French clients, Dutch clients, and UK-based clients.
Okay.
So very European-based clients.
Okay, interesting. Listen, Frank, I think you've been with us with what, more than 2 years. You are from Switzerland originally. Why Luxembourg, if I may ask?
Yes, we launched the company in Swiss because our initial clients were based in Switzerland, and we had the willing to have a feet in ESMA zone, and initially were thinking to be in London, and after the Brexit or after the decision to do the pool and the potential decision of Brexit, we make a decision to move in Luxembourg, because Luxembourg is the first place for asset management. It's number 2 in the world behind the US. So there's a huge business to be done in Luxembourg, and largely far from the rest of the European country, far from France, far from England, Spain, Italy. Really, here is the place to be for asset management world.
And it's good to have you with us.
I'm very happy to be here.
Are you happy? Yeah?
Oh yes, I'm very happy to be in the LHoFT, to be in Luxembourg, really. And my family moved to Luxembourg too, and we're happy with it.
Let's speak about family. I mean, are you a father?
I'm a father, of course. I'm a father. I've got a big family, big one. I've got 6 kids. No,
wow.
I've got 6 kids. Some are in Paris, some are here with us, and but it's good. I mean, the family is very important because it gives you a kind of stability outside work. We work a lot. I mean, when we create our company, we work a lot. But then we need to have a kind of balance between private life and work life.
What is your main driver, Frank? In the morning, what's your fuel? What makes you tick?
Always, every day is a new thing. And when we are entrepreneur, we always remind the good news. So we may have in the day 5 bad news and just a small good news. We just remind good news. So we need to wake up in the morning having the smile and having the appetite to go and to have a new business, new things to come in the day. So I like to work with teams. I have a very good team in Luxembourg, in Switzerland. I like to teamwork. I like leading. I like to sharing strategy. I like clients contact. I think it's all those elements that make you give you the vibe.
What's the biggest challenge you faced as an entrepreneur?
To keep the morale up. I mean, sometimes you have done things, and you need to show your team that you keep the control of the things, and you continue. So always continuing. And if you believe your strategy is a good one, if you believe that the business model you conduct is a good one, go work. But it's 100% dedication. You need to be dedicated.
Question: if you could talk with yourself at 20 years old, what would be your own advice?
Wow. Be patient. Be patient. Wait. Build slowly, step by step.
What's your passion, Frank?
Oh my God. Patient. Work.
Yeah.
But not only. I mean, I love gardening.
Gardening?
Yes, I love gardening.
Seriously?
I mean, yes. When I go home, I mean, I love gardening. I'm taking care of the forest, taking care of the garden. Yes, I love that.
Another thing that, I mean, we notice about you, you are dancing all the time at the LHoFT.
Oh God, yes.
You like music, that's for sure.
I love music.
What kind of music are you listening to?
I love disco music. I love the music, I mean, we can hear today, DJs. I mean, I love many things.
What's your favorite DJ?
There's many that I like. I mean, Rudy. I mean, there's many.
And on the disco side, any
and
group?
the disco. I mean, it was when I was young. I mean, disco, imagination. I mean, there's many good disco music.
Good. Frank, has been a very interesting cup of coffee. Thank you so much for being with us, driving, dancing all over the place. And where can people reach out to you?
We're going to be very close to this place. So on the second floor of the LHoFT, we are there.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you very much,
It's been a pleasure.
This is the end of our first LHoFT TV show. We hope you like it. We put a lot of heart into it. Watch it, subscribe, like, comment, and help us to make it faster, better, stronger. See you soon.